chapter 17, 12, 7, 0, enter. There. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Succoth, wherever that is, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Succoth and Azekah. And they were in whatever that is, whatever. Okay. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, who's named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Well, a cubit is elbow to fingertip, anywhere from 18 to 20 inches. I'm 6'1½". My cubit is 20 inches, okay? So a span is 9 inches. So Goliath was about 10 feet tall, big guy. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head and was armed with a coat of mail. The weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels. That's about 90 pounds. Just his coat was 90 pounds. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs and a target of brass between his shoulders. This guy's going to be hard to take down. Ain't much to shoot at. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and the spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said to them, why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine? Am not I a Philistine? And ye servants of Saul, choose you a man, singular, for you, and let him come down to me, singular. Right? Watch this later. If he, one guy, be able to fight with me, one guy, and to kill me, one guy, then will we, all of us, be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. Fair enough challenge, right? Mano a mano, one-on-one. Bring them on, okay? When Saul and all the Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. We talked about him last time. And he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 oldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of the 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself for 40 days. This has got to be getting old. Every day he comes out and challenges them, mocks them. Come on, bring it on, okay? And Jesse said to David, his son, take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp of thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge, which means Old English, find out how they're doing, right? And now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard him. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up, and it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. We'll see about the daughter later, several spots in the Bible. Michal was her name. Anyway, and David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killed him. You told him, hey, if you kill a guy, you get to marry his daughter, and you get a bunch of money. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? Can you see a little mocking here? Go take care of them couple of sheep you got. I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. Now, David did not argue with him. It's his older brother. Sometimes arguing with some people is futile. How many of you have ever gotten an argument and it's absolutely a complete waste of time? You just might as well stop right now. You're not getting anywhere. You might as well talk to a rock, right? Bible says, don't render evil for evil or railing for railing. If they rail on you, don't rail back on them, because it just escalates. It goes nowhere. A contrary way, instead bless them. God bless you. When they curse you, oh, God bless you. Okay. And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? What an answer to his brother. What exactly did I do wrong? And isn't there a cause? What are you fighting for? What are you living for? This is a great question we should ask ourselves all the time. What is your cause? What are you trying to do with your life? Make a bunch of money? Is that what you live for? Is a piece of paper? Build a bigger house? You know, the people that have a big house, you know what they want? A bigger house. The people that have a fast car, you know what they want? Faster car. It takes us a lifetime to learn things here on this planet do not satisfy. And he turned from him toward another and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. So they're all giving him the same answer. If you kill that guy, you get the king's daughter and you get a bunch of money. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul. And he sent for him. Because Saul heard that these guys are hearing David say, who is this guy? Go kill him. So Saul said, go get that kid. I want to talk to him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth. And he, a man of war from his youth. This guy's been fighting since he was a kid. He knows all the tricks. Not all. And David said to Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. That's a tough kid. Grab the lion by the beard and kill him. Or the bear, I don't know which it is. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them. No different. Seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. Well, hold it. Saul, you're the biggest guy in the kingdom, head and shoulders above everybody else. Why aren't you going out to fight this guy? You're willing to send a kid out there. I can hear it now, right? And Saul armed David with his armor. I bet that looked good on little David. Saul's, head and shoulders above everybody else. And put a helmet of brass upon his head, and he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go. That's Old English. He tried to go, for he had not proved it. Probably couldn't move. Take 3 steps before the armor moves. And David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. I haven't tested them in battle. And David put them off him. Listen, don't go fight in someone else's armor. Build armor that fits you. If God called you to fight the evolution religion like I do, great. Feel free to use all my jokes, use all my stuff, use my slides. But you fit it to you. Some of you have a different personality than I do, which is probably good, okay? I tend to be a little bit of the sergeant. Get out of the way, we're coming through, This is the way we're going. And we need a variety of personalities in this. But don't use my armor, or don't use anybody else's armor. Get your own armor to fit you, okay? And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones. Does anybody know why he picked up 5?
There were 5 total.
Goliath had 4 brothers. There were 5 others. Yep, you'll see them later. And David's brothers or cousins killed the other 4 cousins of brothers of Goliath. Now the NIV and the New Bibles have really messed it up. They say Elhanan killed Goliath in one of the passages. No, he didn't. Elhanan killed Goliath's brother, like it says in the King James. That's another story. And he picked up 5 smooth stones and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David. And the man that bare the shield went before him. Oh, wait. There's two of them? Didn't he offer to do one-on-one? There's two of them. See, the devil doesn't play fair. Just get used to it. He doesn't play fair, right? Come on, I'll take you on one-on-one. When you show up, there's two of them. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy, which means redhead, and of a fair countenance. Good-looking kid, redhead, little kid. He can't whoop me, Goliath's thinking. And the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? David had a sling and a stick to keep track of the sheep. And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Well, what gods did he curse him by? Well, the god Dagon, which was the fish god, which we have people today still dress up like that guy with the fish hat. That's what it represents, the false god Dagon. By Baphomet, the goat-headed, breasted god. Or by, the Baphomet. That was one of their pagan gods, the god of sex, okay? What about Belial? Yeah, they worship the god of Belial. Belial is the demon of lies and guilt, able to induce any type of sins, especially those related to sex and lust. Belial. Did you know there are video games that kids buy and play today called Belial? Or Belial, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah. What are your kids playing on those computers anyway? You're allowing your kids to follow Belial? Belial? Yeah, you can order extra PlayStation. Get the powers of this guy, the pagan guy. Or the god Baal, where they would offer their children as a sacrifice to Baal. Because the screams and cries of the children, the tears would water the earth so your crops would grow good. We covered that a couple lessons ago in here. The largest Baal worship service on the planet is in America. Every year they do. It's called Burning Man. They dress up naked with a nightgown, over, see-through thing over the top of them. Our Bible studies on 1 Samuel 10 and 1 Samuel 15, a couple weeks ago, cover more on the pagan gods, Baal, Baphomet, Beelzebub, Belial, and Dagon. Anyway, so he cursed him by his gods. God's about to show the world that these gods are actually nothing. He's going to have a little kid go out there with a rag and a string and a rock and explain it to Goliath. In Genesis 3, the serpent said to the woman, ye shall not surely die. God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods. First thing the devil promised to Eve, Eve, you can be like God. That's what evolution is all about. We started off like an amoeba. We're getting bigger, better, stronger, smarter, and someday we're going to sail around the universe and discover new life forms like Star Trek. That's the whole evolution theory in a nutshell. In Matthew chapter 4, the devil taketh him up to a high mountain, exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Hold it. Does the devil have the authority to offer all the kingdoms of the world? Well, Luke chapter 4. The devil took him to a high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms, and the devil said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and all the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me. He was called the prince of the power of the air. Satan was a good guy at first. He was created during those first 6 days. Everything was created. Ezekiel tells us that Lucifer was created, Ezekiel 28. So he was a good guy, probably for 100 years, my guess. The first clue we have is Adam was 130 when Seth was born on our chart here. And we know they were out of the garden when Cain and Abel were born, but we don't have any dates. Cain and Abel were old enough to get in a fight and kill each other. And then they had Seth, and that's the first date we've got at 130. They might have been in the Garden of Eden for 100 years. Perfect peace and harmony until they finally sinned. First, Satan fell from heaven, and then he came down and tempted Eve, and they fell. But he had the power over this earth. He said, I will give you the power of this world if you fall down and worship me. The Philistines fell for Satan's lie. God was about to use a youth with a rag on a string and a rock to take down their giant, relying on his false gods. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword, with a spear, with a shield, and there's two of you, you're cheating. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee, and take thy head from thee. It's a cocky kid. And I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there's a God in Israel. Why is he doing this? So that everybody can know God. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. It's enough to stand there and go fight the guy, but to be anxious to go do it, he started off running toward this guy. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead. And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. And Goliath said, nothing like that ever entered my mind before. Slings are interesting. We got a bunch down here in the batting cage. You can sling golf balls and try to hit Goliath, okay? Did you know a sling stone can go 100 miles an hour? Imagine a rock that size coming at you at 100 miles an hour. Now, the Romans, they carved them in sort of a olive shape, pointed, and they carved little grooves on the side, so when they went through the air, they whistled just to give the effect to terrify people. David, who was it had in their army in the Bible? I should have looked that up. They had 1,000 men in their army who could sling stones within a hair's breadth. They were the snipers of the day. The armies were scared of the slingers because, I mean, with a sword, you got to be within a couple feet to be effective, right? Or a spear. How far can you throw a spear? But a sling, they were terrified of the slingers. David had spent all his life out there watching the sheep. I'm sure he's practiced with the sling. Hey, brother, try to knock that leaf off that tree over there. Oh, here comes a bear. Whack. So God sometimes prepares people for things in mundane jobs you don't realize you're going to need that someday. Just do it anyway. Do the best you can at what you're doing, and God will say, oh, I think I'll promote you. David got really good with the sling. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine. The guy had to be huge, okay? Climbed up on him, took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Now hold it. They fled. I thought you said you'd be our servants. If he's able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. Well, what are you running for, guys? Again, they don't play fair, okay? And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley, to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to some other place, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. Now, what giants do you have to slay? Everybody's got giants they have to slay in their life. What? You got to look at the giant and say, okay, I'm going to slay this thing. Some people, that's their giant. They can't whip that thing. Okay, well, keep going. Maybe that's your giant. I've never tasted alcohol, but I've seen it wreck a lot of lives. Maybe that's your giant. Got to have money. If you don't get money, you're not happy. Is that what you live for? Anyway, David hit Goliath in the head, knocked him senseless or sensible, and took off his head. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, and he put his armor in his tent. David kept the giant's armor. It could be something to show folks. Hey, guys, look at this 90-pound chest protector. Look at the size of his helmet. See that little dent in the edge of the helmet? That was me. That's where I got him. I saw a video the other night about one of the tanks that was in a battle in World War II. And when they got out of the tank, it had like 200 dents in it where it had been shot. Dented the metal, you know. Couldn't. They were in the middle of the battle taking it. Okay, so if you have giants in your life, go get them. What are you trying to conquer? Say, Lord, help me conquer this giant.